Hey y'all, this is Trent Knox with the Trent Knox Show with my guest Knives Monroe. Hey Knives, could you say what's up to the podcast?
Hey Trent, hey everybody, it's good to be here. Um, it's such an honor to be on your podcast, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Knives. I haven't talked to you in a long time. It's probably been over like 3 months. I feel like uh, since I last spoke with you, something like that.
You know, it takes as long as it takes. It's all good though. Here we are, picking right up where we left off.
Yeah. So the first time I officially met you was at Kickbutt Coffee when we all sat around the round table and kind of discussed our directions and stuff like that and where we were going. One of the pertinent questions you asked me was, "What is my why?" Do you know your why right now?
Yeah, my why is you know I I don't know if it's a DNA thing or if it's a gene thing or if it's a meme thing or meme in the Richard Dawkins sense of the word. Like I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg that came first, but I'm a dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
A big time dreamer. And my dreams about the future and the quality of life that I want to have and share with my family is my why. I very much enjoy the present and the current quality of life with me and my family, but my dreams are even bigger, and they propel me and they give me the momentum I need, the drive, if you will, to persist and to they just propel me forward. And I would say that's my why.
You know, Knives. When I first like encountered the content that you were putting on online through I think Indie Darling or no, not through Indie Darlings. It was another platform. Brian had shown it to me. Brian Kern, Comic Chaos Podcast, um, and I was really inspired by the type of thought process that you have. And little did I know you were a filmmaker uh, that was actually producing films, directing films, writing scripts. Can you maybe like talk to people about like what the process of entering into the film world is?
Well, I like to look at myself as a filmmaker outside the system, not to be contrarian, but just, I've never made a Hollywood film. I've never gone to Hollywood. I come from a generation where that was the quote unquote way to make it. You get a script, you pitch it, you sell it, and then maybe if you're lucky, you go to, I don't know, Cannes Film Festival or Sundance Film Festival, and then your movie's picked up and you make Pulp Fiction, and that's the dream, right? Just the time that I started producing and making stuff, that wasn't really the dream. YouTube happened, so it it became about you know your excuses were suffocated, and then you kind of had to make something yourself. So the first film I ever made, it was actually one of the first things I ever made outside of backyard wrestling videos, was in 2012, so 6 years ago, almost to the day. It was in August, where I debuted my first feature film. I was 24 years old, and wrote a script. I made it on the budget of hot dogs and handshakes, and fortunate enough to acquire a band of misfits that believed in the script and wanted to make it and bring it to fruition. And it's available on YouTube. And not to make a shameless plug, it's called Herb Appleganger, and it's very poorly produced, and the camera work is fair at best, and the audio is sketchy. The performances are like barely there. My direction, like there's hardly a voice. Like it's but I love it so much. It reminds me of Kevin Smith's Clerks, and that you look at it, you point at it, and you say, "Oh, that counts." So I'm a self-taught guy. Tarantino has that quote where he says, "Some people went to film schools, I went to films," and that was me. Before Wikipedia, like I went to the library, and I read scripts and I read how-to books and I read autobiographies and biographies of filmmakers, and I'm a big reader. And so I was a self-taught guy. I learned everything on YouTube. I learned everything on YouTube tutorials and a lot of trial and error and failures. And I think my whole, if you want to call it a career, my body of work is just really a sum of failures. And I think after 15 years, they amounted to something, inertia of some kind. And now I get to make money producing content and stuff like that. So I call it art money. Like that's what people are really after to an extent. The Hollywood dream, the classic filmmaking trope has been redefined due to the democratization of the internet, and it's liberating. You know, there's a lot of freedom in that, but there's also a burden of so many choices and so much garbage that is out there. I've participated in the snowball effect of garbage. I've created a lot of crap as well. You can find that online as well. But I guess what ended up happening was, like I said, 15, 16 years passed, and I accumulated a lifetime of experience that for the new kids on the block that come on the scene, the 16-year-olds, the 25-year-olds that come out on the scene, like you, uh, I think approach me with some sort of like big brotherness, like, wow, Knives must know what he's talking about because he's done it a few times. And I have, but it's not like I'm an award-winning filmmaker or anything. I'm just a dude who is a hopeless romantic who just has to make shit to cope. So I wish it was like I wish I could say that I was like some acclaimed guy, um, you know, who's like super talented, like a Banksy or something. But I'm just a dude that just doesn't go away. If I'm being honest.
Mm. Um, while you're talking there, a lot of things came to mind. Um, you talked about your it's not really a biopic, but it definitely relates to your life a lot. Your documentary or narrative film, Doppelganger, her doppelganger. Sorry about that. One of the things that I've noticed around that, aside from you and but other filmmakers that I've spoken with, they're always working on a project, and I think that the one thing that differentiates you from the rest of the pack is you've completed your first full feature project, and it's out there. You know, you've had that experience. So some of the some of the work that you've done after her doppelganger that I've seen has been coupled in the podcast world, uh, vlogging, and the such. One thing that came to mind while you were talking there was your first episode with Tanner Walters of Creators on what was that again? Is that Indie Darlings? Is that
Pipe dream.
Pipe Dream? That's right. And one thing I noticed from you from a perspective of you turning the camera toward yourself is that a lot of people who are successful speak with their hands and envision the things that they're saying. Um,
Yeah.
do you feel that?
I don't. I'm not conscious of.
What was that? I think we lost Knives. Let's see if we can get him back.
Hey, Trent, Knox, are we still?
Sorry. Yeah, I dropped the call with you. Must have been going through a dead zone.
I apologize. No, actually, I got a call on the other
Oh.
end, and I told my wife, "What the fuck is wrong with you? I told you I'm on a podcast with Trent Knox. The fuck you want?
Oh man, I feel so appreciated.
You
Um,
goddamn well better be."
so what was I saying? So yeah, you
So
said you're not.
after filming myself, I've noticed my own affectations for
Hmm.
sure, but I'm not really conscious of them. I, uh, if I express myself with my hands, I don't necessarily know what that means. I do know that 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Hmm.
So I think I'm in a state of honesty, and so my body might sing with my honesty. I think
Oh
I'm
yeah.
doing it right now in my car.
Mm. That's I think that's an important thing to have, and I think that successful people are in sync with their nonverbals and their verbals. Um, and I can't say I don't know if I'm there yet. I mean, maybe that's the thing that I have so much speculation in my life that I always say I don't know. I shake my head or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. So
Well, I wouldn't feel burdened by the I don't know. Like there's confidence in the I don't know if you don't know, even if it stems
yeah,
from insecurity. Like that's okay. I think we put so much emphasis on having the right answer all the time, and I think that must be exhausting. So it's okay to not know everything all the time.
yeah, and I think that's the thing everybody should appreciate what you just said there. Um, I'm learning, and over the time since I've last saw you and spoke with you, um, is that I've been comparing myself to other people who I don't know their circumstances. Um,
Comparison is the worst form of violence that you can do to yourself.
right, yeah. You know what? But I say it's me, but it's also my family and acquaintances and the such, trying to find out where they are on the hierarchy of basically acceptance.
In terms of you accepting them or them accepting you.
Well, maybe it's a little bit of both because I look at it as, am I successful enough at 24 doing what I'm doing, or am I being a menace to society? Or is what I do valuable to society?
Or D, are you in the middle of figuring it out?
Oh, yeah, that's something I guess I've been thinking about, and then that's where the I don't know comes in. You know, I guess I'll only find that out when I can accept myself. You know,
I think you answered your own question, that's for sure.
yeah. Um, so
Are we on the podcast right now?
yeah, we still are. Yeah.
Okay, is this like questions and answers, or is this more of a conversation? I'm asking because I don't want to be rude, but
Oh
if
no,
this is
it's
like inside the actor studio, I'm so down for it. But if this is also like I can ask you questions and shit, I'm down for that too.
oh yeah, it's conversation. Yeah.
I don't necessarily know what the Trent Knox podcast is air quotes about, but
Sure.
I would say you're very hard on yourself, and
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm going to make an accusation, and I'm going to make an assumption here, so please don't take it personally if you're offended.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about 24-year-olds in 2018, and I have immense empathy for the lot of you because there's so much emphasis on lifestyle, and we're being sold, and I'm one of these people that sells and advertising and things like that. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm fluent in that language, but the internet and all consumerism and the capitalism of America that runs through all of our veins, like it leaves you wanting, and then that becomes a trap, right? And then in my opinion, you're in the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of like my why is to snap out of the matrix and to snap other people out of the matrix when they're ready. Like that really gives me a boner, like that gets me off. Like
Mm.
I like being enlightened, awakened. I like the feeling of a higher a higher level of consciousness because then you're in the problem solving state of mind, right?
Mm.
And I just feel so much empathy for 24-year-olds that are left wanting, because it's not really your fault. You're being sold by Nike and by entrepreneurism and whatever the lifestyle is, whatever the current trend of that time. And before you know it, if you're not careful, you're going to be 30 years old and say, "What the fuck happened?"
Mm.
And that's a slippery slope for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Ah. Yeah, I've been questioning that. And I guess that's kind of what this show's about. It's questioning, am I in the right place in coordination with what society is, and am I it was what I'm doing valuable? Um, and I think the question is. is better than the answer. You know, um,
Sure.
I've had conversations with people recently who've had really really harsh beliefs, um, and it's a wide, like the age range is very very wide, from 20 years old to 45 plus years old, and they have serious tisms or ists that that
Yeah.
really corrupt their open mindedness to new
Yes.
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. It's a form of elitism, you know. I think if I look back at being 22, 23, 24, like, I think I would have had like harsh states and reality as well, you know, because you're figuring it out and you think and you want to know it all, and that's a form of coping. I think, you know, saying like I got a grip on all this.
Hmm.
You know, you're questioning your reality. Like, I think that's a form of like virtue signaling or something. You know, and it's part of growing up.
Hmm.
We expect, you know, and I have a lot of respect for Kylie Jenner. I've never met her, but I
Hmm.
don't I don't I don't talk down about her. But you have these Kylie Jenners, these 20-year-olds who are millionaires who quote unquote have it all figured out. And that's a narrative that's being perpetuated everywhere about having it all figured out, being at peace. Um, you know, oh, this person's contributing to society. They're adding value, so therefore they're valuable. They're validated. There's so much emphasis on that. What about people like just wanting to chill the fuck out? What about people? What happened to growing up? What happened
Hmm.
to growing? What happened to evolving? What happened to like a never-ending state of flux? What happened to adaptation? What happened to open-mindedness? What happened to like feeling everything? You know, now everything's a declaration of identity. Everything's like I'm this ist, I'm this ism, like you said,
Hmm.
and that's a little dangerous. Like the only label I've ever I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson once. They asked him, "Are you an atheist?" And they asked him, "The only ist I am is a scientist."
Hmm.
And I've always liked that. And I always felt like the only ist I am is an artist. That's the only label I've ever really wrapped my mind around. And I think if you're attracted to my aura or my vibes or whatever, it's because I have a sense of certainty with my bubble and this never ending strings of bubbles that we all bump into with one another. I
Hmm.
think you just clashed with me and was like, wait a second, this guy is sure of himself. But if you start asking me about the NFL, I have no idea what to ask you. If you
Hmm.
start asking me about like guns and like the different models and this and that, I have no idea what to talk about.
Hmm.
I'm only fluent in what I'm fluent in, you know, and that's like visual language. So I think I overcompensate what I'm ignorant about, and I just double down on what I do know, you know, and it's very limiting,
Yeah.
but that's all I know, and I'm comfortable with that, man. Like I'm happy with just being an artist, you know. Like I I went all in on that, and so I don't have to worry about um, all the other baggage that I definitely sense those on the come up are grappling with.
Hmm. Well, I feel as though I've been having this conversation with myself, in my thinking voice inside of my head, about very similar topics. But I think one thing that you have is you've overcome a lot of negative circumstances, and that makes you way further along than the average person your age.
Well, this goes back to being a dreamer. Like, there's a lot of. It's not fair to compare anybody to me and to compare me to them because they don't have my dreams. They don't have my vision. They
Hmm.
don't see through my eyes. My friend Dakota Meyer always talks about the lens of life, and we all have a different lens. We all see through life through a different lens, and so what I like the way I rummage through adversity, like it shouldn't be compared to anybody else's suffering or circumstances. It's all relative, you know. Like for me, there's a lot of like self sabotage in my life. Um, there's a lot of like situations I put myself in because it was like putting the video game on hard. Like I just wanted to see if I could do it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a luxury. You know, there's a lot of people who they just eat a shit sandwich every day, and that's their life, and they don't have the luxury of a choice. So a lot of people don't have my goals and like what I'm after. Like I have a bigger picture, but it's not a bigger picture compared to somebody else's picture. I just have a bigger picture relative to me, and I think that's really the thing that uh, makes me stand out is uh, my relationship with my bigger picture drives me. And some people, A, either don't know what that is, B, are being sold that they think they need a bigger picture, such as like Yeezys or something. They're being sold like buy this um, Nerf gun or buy this I don't know whatever you know what was that thing that spinner that everybody
Fidget
had last
spinners.
year?
Fidget spinners.
Fidget spinner. Like I'm not sold like on the you know I can't believe I'm quoting Deepak Chopra, but like that he calls that the superstition of materialism.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very skeptical about like being told I'm needing something
Oh, I see. The Jones
because
effect.
yeah, exactly FOMO, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that. Like I only know what I see in front of me and what I want to create.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And but there's some people out there that all they need is love. All they need is a significant other and to be in the arms of their significant other, and that's what they want. And so therefore, that doesn't make them like that doesn't make their goals and visions like small. If it's big to them, it's relatively large to them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I just think that we're in America, especially like there's so much wanting.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much like I want to be a stand-up comic. I want to be a musician. I want to no, you probably really don't unless like you find yourself doing it and you're compelled, right? Like I keep talking about like all this, mystical stuff of like being compelled and the you know, uh kind of being as if it's divine almost, like this energy pushing me to do stuff. But I think everybody has that if they're conscientious of their values, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. You know, I'm gonna quote somebody because I listen to his content all the time, Gary V, and I feel like I'm in the state that he's talking about is tasting. So, I've been doing the creating vlogs. I've been doing the creating short films or something like that. Um, I've been doing live streaming. I've been
Doing
I
podcasts.
did the podcast. I've tried doing the comedy thing with Brian, and you know, I'm I'm kind of just like trying to figure out what makes me happy, at
Yeah.
this point. Um, and
May I ask you what has made you happy in the past?
um,
Surely two things come to mind. Maybe one thing.
okay, sex. If we go straight to it, but then constantly being sold that through
Okay,
you
sex
know
sex makes you happy. What's
yeah.
another thing in terms of like that accomplishment feeling?
Oh man. Uh, you know, it's the accomplishment feeling. I don't want to. I. The first thing that comes to mind is being rewarded, but that's the same thing as being accepted. You know, um, I I think that helping people has always been something that makes me happy. Um, Seeing someone else have fun because I was able to have that happen.
Yes.
Or I built the environment in which that person could be having fun or facilitating happiness.
Facilitating happiness. I mean, don't you think that that's the thing then?
Um, there are so many. With that happening, there's so much negativity that comes with it. Um, so it's a balance, I guess, because you're trying to prevent you're trying to prevent anything that may bring sadness into the ecosystem of happiness. And if you're, let's say, we're organizing a dodgeball game, we're going to try and make it as safe as possible so that everyone doesn't have these negative emotions coming onto them, right?
Um, um, I could go on a big trip about that. Like that to me is like, um, it's like what Jocko says: discipline equals freedom, right? Like sometimes doing something and getting hurt, like sometimes pain is good, right?
Sure.
Sometimes like the if you can't, and now we live in a world where you can't. This isn't politically correct, and I think that's a form of um, I think that's a form of like psychological abuse when we start talking in political correctness personally. But one could say if you're not safe playing
Mm-hmm.
dodgeball, well then it don't play dodgeball. It's not for you. You know what I mean? Like if you're afraid to get hurt and like everything's nerfed out or whatever, and everybody's like it's a safe place and everybody gets like the second place trophy thing in dodgeball.
Mm-hmm.
I think then that system's are already a little broken.
I don't disagree with that. I think that the word discipline is used in two different ways. It can either mean uh, repercussions or it can mean routine. And I,
No,
I think.
I'm talking about. Here's the way I interpret that is people associate the word discipline with pain,
Mm-hmm.
with like ache and being sore or waking up early with like discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's almost ubiquitous or synonymous with those terms. And now like discomfort and pain and aches and sores are now negative when it's like
Mm-hmm.
no motherfuckers. This is where growth comes from. This is where accomplishment and fulfillment comes from. This is where success comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try to deny that and everybody just shortcuts their way to some sort of dopamine hit, that's when we got a lot of numb motherfuckers who are left wanting.
Yeah, but I mean, this is kind of segueing
I guess
into.
I guess it's like this, right? And I'm sorry for interrupting, but if your facilitation for happiness, if there's like a little bit of pain in that, I would say you're gonna have to find your margin, right? Like for
Mm-hmm.
filmmaking, there's a lot of bullshit that comes with your final product, your final result.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bullshit that comes with that. But the high that I personally get, the rush of clicking upload,
Mm-hmm.
it's like scaling a mountain to me. When you put 30 man hours into a 5 minute video or whatever, and you click upload and it's out there, I don't care about the likes and the views and the shares and not that. That's not the currency. The
Mm-hmm.
currency is clicking upload and saying I did this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the currency. That's the rush. And it comes from like, I didn't shoot that right. People might notice this or that person no called no showed that day, or I wanted to shoot that in the day instead I had to shoot that at night, or it rained that day, or you know what, I didn't get to finish filming this, but here it is that day, or it comes from imperfection, it comes from flaws. Like I think I may have said this the first day I met you, but filmmaking is a mistakist art form, and I love that.
Mm.
It's not about what's right; it's about what you got that day, and that's very liberating to me. So people look at a final product and they see and they think it's like perfected or whatever, but I
Mm-hmm.
see the flaws, I see the blemishes, and that's part of it. If you're afraid of that, well then that's not the medium for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I facilitate happiness as well.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to my macro like holy shit goal is to have people think about themselves in a different better way, to
Mm-hmm.
have them change the way they see themselves for the better.
Mhm.
That's a hard fucking thing to do. It's a facilitation of happiness as well, in a manner of speaking,
Mhm.
and it doesn't work all the time. You
Mm.
know, like that's but that's part of it, and then that's where the reps come in and all that, and that's where ultimately, do I enjoy doing this? I may get, one win out of every 10, but do I enjoy doing this? If the answer is yes, then I'm going to keep doing it.
Mhm.
If the answer is no, well, then what's my margin? Like, when is it going to be good enough for me? And then that comes down to me, right? So figuring that out for me, luckily, I only had one option. It was never going to be football or tennis or trombone. It was never going to be that. It was
Mhm.
going to be this. Um, so whatever that facilitation of happiness is for you,
Mhm.
if the margin is 50-50, that's pretty fucking good. You would take those odds with you to Las Vegas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's never going to be 100% perfect, and there's no pain and there's no quote unquote negativity. Like, embrace it, but just, amplify the happiness part of that facilitation.
Yeah. Um I guess with coming off of that, I want to go back to something though cuz I hate to do this, but what we're what we're being sold on platforms such as Instagram is a image of and it has to do with the personalities that and influencers that are creating the content is a false sense of reality. We want to believe so much that that girl or that guy is doing those things when in reality there's a bigger machine behind that than than just that singular person um, doing those activities.
Okay.
More or less that you go on an Instagram and you see these beautiful girls, but they're or beautiful guys, and you want to live up to those standards, but there's no way to do that as an individual. Maybe I'm for every there isn't there actually is. I don't know how that saying goes, but you doubt it and it really does exist. But there's a far majority of them that aren't doing it on their own. Um, that it's a collective of people making sure that that image
So
comes
so
together.
so here's what I think you're saying, or here's what I think you're talking about. So I got a 5-inch dick.
Hmm.
I got a 5-inch dick.
Right. Okay.
Now, most porn that I watch ain't no 5-inch dick in sight.
Okay.
It's always like 8-inch dick, motherfucker. It's always, you got the chode over here. You got the Coke can cock.
Okay.
You got the big black cock, of course. Who could forget? But I got a 5-inch dick, and so as a kid growing up with a 5-inch dick, I was always self-conscious. I was always like, man, like, you know what? Can I eat you out instead? Because, what if she sees my dick and it's not a fucking 12-inch cock, and what if she doesn't like it?
Yeah.
Um, Now you take that porn psychology, and now that's Instagram with everything, and now there's a lot of insecurity. It's just propelling insecurity.
Hmm.
But in actuality, there's never been a woman that I've never made come.
Hmm.
There's never been a woman that said, ah, that's it. There's never been a woman that, you know, there's never been a time where I never had a good time having sex. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But when you start comparing yourself to others, you're going to find flaws. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I made a movie about this. Um, Her doppelganger was about an eating disorder. It was about bulimia,
Hmm.
and it was about, you know the tagline of the film was, if what was it? I don't even know the own tagline of my own movie, but it was fuck. I'll have to look it up. But it was like, if less is more, then nothing is everything.
Hmm.
That's what it was.
Hmm.
And there's something very, if less is more, then nothing is everything. There's something very nihilistic about that,
Mm.
and that to me is Instagram. Like, when and pornography. Like, once you start saying like, "Wow, I don't have those abs," or "I don't have that dick," or "I don't have that hair," I mean, it's real easy, right? And you think, man, they got it all.
Right.
Um, once you start doing that, that's uh that's disempowering psychology.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That's losing psychology. Self worth. You know who sells that?
Right, but isn't the conversation uh consistently that at least in the mainstream is that you're going to find love online. You're going to you're going to participate in conversations over direct message and you're
I
going to
think the main
find
conversation is you're not enough.
mm,
That's the main conversation. Like your skin isn't right, you need this.
mm,
Your hair is whack, you need this. Your what are those?
yeah.
Right? Your watch is whack. Oh, you
Okay.
have the iPhone 5C or whatever.
Mm,
Like, oh, you have an Android. Oh, you know what I mean? Like that. That's the culture.
yeah.
It's peacocking. It's in nature as well, right?
Mhm.
So that's what it is. These ad agencies have discovered, um, you know, hitting pain points.
Mm,
So you get a credit card.
mm,
Well, what if grandma gets sick? Do you want to be ready? That was literally a credit card commercial at one point.
mhm.
You want to be ready when grandma gets sick. Capital One. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then motherfuckers are in debt. School. You want
Yep.
to get a good job? I saw some like meme yesterday that was the government will give you $100,000 in student loans, but not $10,000 for a business loan. There's
Mm,
something to that.
yeah,
You
there is.
know, my girlfriend, she has a college degree, and she'll be lucky if she can get a job for $12 an hour, and she's worth more. But she was being sold at the time the 2004 dream of our parents that they left behind of like you got to go to school. That's the only way.
Mhm.
So everything's being sold to you that you're not enough. It's
Yeah.
horrible. The art that gets me going is the art that to quote Kanye West, that makes cracks in the pavement, that makes cracks in the matrix.
Mm,
That says this shit isn't fucking real. I like it to. And now radio shows just play songs. You know what I mean?
mhm.
That to me is dangerous. To me is look at our president. That's where that's where how many people are eating off of that?
Off of the
How
president?
many? Yeah, how many people? How many like what? Oh, dude, I can hear the echo, man. Like
Hold on.
vultures, people are eating off of our president's attitude, his style, whatever it is, like the anti-political correctness. People are eating off of that because people secretly desire that. Because
Mhm.
Trump, he acts like he doesn't need anything.
Right. It's
Somewhere
it's
along the line, I had to accept that I am who I am, and there's only one Knives Monroe, and so I got to be the best version of that. And you only get the one life, and so I'm gonna go down making as much dope shit as I can. Period.
okay.
That's it. Not gonna compare myself to David Lynch. I'm not gonna compare myself to Xavier Dolan and Donald Glover. Like I'm not gonna compare myself to those guys because they're doing their best version of themselves. But
Mhm.
once you start comparing yourself to Casey Neistat and you're saying, "How come I'm not like that?" Dude, you've lost. Like he's not comparing himself to anybody, and that's what people are really,
Yeah,
really
but
after.
if
That's
if
the real drug, and you can't sell that.
you
Nike can't sell that.
you're competing for
Pepsi
attention though.
Pepsi can't sell that.
At least on YouTube. On YouTube, you're competing for those eyeballs, and that's your money. That's your lifeline, right?
Not me. Not you.
Well, right. Maybe you're not monetizing off of YouTube, but I mean, that's that's the vlogger. The vlogger is trying to monetize via Coke ads, and the more views
Right.
Casey
Right.
Neistat
Right.
gets, it
Let's just
takes
say
away
the
from your.
Logan Pauls. Right. Let's just say that.
Sure,
Um,
yeah, they definitely
yeah.
took it over.
Yeah. Of course. And that's what they do, and they do it well, and that's wonderful. And people want to be like them. People want to be like, and we've talked about this before, you and me off mic. People want to be like Ty Lopez. That's not me, man. That's not
Hmm.
me. And for a lot of people, they're being sold that's what they need to be, but that's not them. And so they're gonna get hurt.
Hmm. I
I mean, You gotta look at the source. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
look at the fucking river where all this shit comes from, and it comes from wanting. Like my little girl, I have a 4-year-old daughter. I don't tell her that she's not enough. I don't tell her like just wait till society fucking rapes you. No, I tell her you got it all. People are gonna try to take it away from you. You gotta hold on to that shit. I mean, that's what I teach her. I'm not saying that's the right way, the only way, the best way, but I'm not gonna let her think for a second that no, she needs Clearasil.
Mm-hmm.
That's where she's gonna get her fulfillment, her happiness, her worth. You know what I mean? Because it starts when we're kids.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was just having a conversation with a computer engineer about this conversation about apples to oranges, apples versus Windows. These things in society, where I remember all the cool kids, all the and the only reason why they were cool was because they were different than the majority of the class. They had the brand new Razor phone. They had the brand new iPhone. They had the brand new whatever was like being marketed all the time, you know.
Right.
And I can't say I know where those people are today.
And I'll tell you this: it's not a certainty that their cup is full,
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying.
that they're fulfilled, that they got it all figured out. You know what I mean? I had those friends too. I knew those guys.
Yeah.
You know, and I envied them as a kid. I was like, man, I never had a Nintendo 64.
Mhm.
I never had a PlayStation 1. I never had a PlayStation 1.
Mhm.
And I remember going to this one friend's house and he had everything. He had every Pokemon card. He had all the games. He had all
Mhm.
the systems. Uh, but I can tell you this: he was a miserable motherfucker, only child.
Mhm.
And right now, that guy, uh, I can tell you personally, no one knows where the fuck that guy is. He's not happy.
Yeah. Oh man, there's just like
It's not
conflicting.
100% of the case all the time, but I think you and me are not talking in absolutes. I think we're talking in blanket statements, just to make a point.
Yeah, I think you're right in the fact that it's a matter of perspective. Depends who's looking, because if I'm looking at someone who has more than me and I'm envious of them, I'm always gonna doubt myself. But also, if someone's looking at me and they're envious of me for the things that I have, they're gonna doubt themselves as well, potentially. Or they could say "fuck you" and go and do whatever they want. You know what I mean?
100%.
Um, and maybe the fact that that's not documented, because we are documenters, right? We both are active on social media. We kind of like to let people know what's currently going on in our lives, and speak to those individuals in our past lives, if you would call that, and keep them up to date with who you are and what's going on. That's social media, right? Not everybody got on that bandwagon, maybe.
I hear what you're saying.
So, you know, that's kind of depressing, in that there you can only
Can I
carry
ask you
on
something, Trent
relationships for
Knox?
so. Yeah, sure, yeah,
Are you currently unemployed with a typical day job?
yeah, definitely.
Let me take a shot in the dark. It's possible that you have too much time in your hands and you're thinking about this shit too much because it's 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 like looking at a menu all the time. You're eventually gonna pick stuff off the menu. But what about when you're not hungry? What about when it's time to go to sleep? If you're still staring at that menu, you're gonna say, well, okay, this I'll take this side as well, or I take. You're gonna keep adding. You know what I mean? Like if you look at like the depression buffet,
Mhm.
I mean, you're gonna throw up so you can eat some more.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think if you, I think you need to like work at a McDonald's so you can daydream, and then that is going to propel you to be like, you know what? This is a waste of my time. I need to be doing this, whatever that is. You know what I mean? But
I
you
do.
have too much time in your head. Like that's counterintuitive to I think like also the way we're being brought up, also the way that we're told how to communicate and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so um, the biggest bouts of depression in my life, I happen to be in between jobs during those times. And it's when you reach down inside yourself, swallow your pride, and say, "Look, I need to make money. I need to work." And then that job leads you to the next job, and then that job leads you to the next job. And before you know it, you meet a guy who knows a guy, and then you get this opportunity and cool, and then you crush it. And now all of a sudden, like you're working and you're getting $15 an hour, and it's pretty good. But then you intern for this thing, you put it all on the line, and you say, "I got a comfy job right here. I got the insurance, but I'm gonna put it all on the line to get this because I realize at the end of the day, I want to be a chef, and so I'm gonna drop out of law school and I'm gonna be a chef."
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, you're good.
Yeah.
You're happy. You took a
Mm-hmm.
pay cut, but you're happy because you started out with doing the shit job you got out of the house. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't think there's an argument for saying, no, I don't want to step out of the house. That doesn't really help depression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
No,
doesn't
definitely.
fucking help.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No, I agree. I mean, but my McDonald's is different. You're using that term just to say going to do something for work. Um, my McDonald's was working in a restaurant, bartending, serving tables. You know, um, you're right and you're wrong at the same time. If I could say it, if I could make it in any way, is that
But here's the part that is right.
maybe you can make it
Maybe I'm
basic.
wrong in that you don't want to work for the man. I appreciate that, but maybe I'm right in that you're too much in your head. I think you are.
Oh, I don't know if working for the man is anything of a problem. I think it's the man, because I've been fired several times, and it's working for a different man all the time, and those men are never men. They're just boys, just like me, and it becomes a constant conflict because I'm 24 with a college educated degree, pursuing a long term successful life, and they have copped out. You know,
So that's entitlement, right? You think you're better than them.
no, I think this is a human experience. I don't think I'm anything.
So
The
what's the problem? Why does that bother you?
what it is. I'm sorry. Did I say it bothered me?
Yeah,
When did I
with
say that?
the bosses who are the way that they are and working for those types of specific men.
Yeah, I don't remember saying it bothered me, but it definitely becomes a problem when my reality is constantly changing or being uprooted. So if if I find happiness somewhere, and then due to my happiness, the man is upset and makes a decision to destroy that happiness for no reason, and then I have to go through the system to get my what's due to me back through the system, and then to find out that that person is lying under oath, it becomes a consistent just rigmarole of depression on me, where
So basically,
I'm just living the
you're
live.
saying life's not fair.
Fair may not be the way to put it. Just not. The algorithm is fucked up. You
What does
know
it owe you?
what does what owe me?
What does the algorithm owe you?
Well, the algorithm should be programmed by a system that looks out for everyone, not just me, but you, your daughter, your wife, your pets, or whatever, however you live your life, whatever you deem valuable.
Okay, so let's try to be realistic about that. And where do those resources come from?
Us paying into the system.
Us doing what?
Well, the work that we put in, whether that's purchasing something through our state
So
taxes.
let's say I chose not to work. Should I get the same that you get?
Wait, you're making a conscious choice not to work,
Yes. So
and
should I get the same thing that you get?
and that well, I'm the answer is not as straightforward because
So tell me.
it needs to be accounted for. So if you choose not to work, I don't believe you should be receiving any any aid or any type of um, fucking assistance that someone who chose to work. So the people who are choosing to work, but no one's giving them any opportunity, should receive assistance. The people who choose not to work and are not getting any opportunities should not receive assistance.
Okay, well then that's slavery.
How so?
You don't, if you have a master and if you choose not to serve that master, you don't get rewards. That's slavery. That's the climate that we already live in, right?
However, they're not the like I said, it's a system. So if this person chooses not and they're not part of the system of the people who choose to, that's not slavery. That's just opposition. That's difference of mindset. You
So
choose not to work, so
in
you
your
are a
perfect
choose not to worker.
algorithm exists opposition.
Well, if the people who choose to work decide that the people who choose not to work uh, are be, are conflicting with them, that's opposition. However, if there is no conflict, I would call that difference. But I believe there's a conflict currently, and I don't know how we can end the conflict.
I think you're looking at life as a video game and you see bugs or you see that a level is hard or you see that you're using ice arrows on this one boss and it's not very effective. And so you're like, I don't know why these ice arrows aren't working. I worked my ass off to get them. Well, it needs to be fire arrows, and you're like, well, why should I have to go out there and get fire arrows? These arrows should be good enough. But that's not the way real life works, right? It's just not the way it works.
I would agree with you, but I'm also the only difference is that um, you're given everyone is given a like a what's right, what's wrong handbook, you know, and so we're all looking through the book trying to figure out whether this boss that we're working on. That's if we're working together. Sorry, I missed this part. If we're working together, we're looking through the book to find out what this potential boss in front of us is. What's where his weakness is. If it's ice or if it's fire, we there needs to be a communication to what's the best way for us to accomplish taking down that boss. You know,
And I think in America, the best way to do that is to be your own boss.
yeah, it would, but then you have the perspective, the outside people looking in, deeming you as um a what are they calling them during the election? They were calling them like invaluable. There was a word for it. Deplorables. Okay, so you're trying to become your own boss, and in doing so, you are opposing all of the system that puts you under a boss. Because there's no boss under a boss, right?
I call those managers.
Okay. Well, I was trying to use the same terminology. So owner, if you call yourself an owner or a founder of instead of boss, because boss indicates a different concept, I guess. I guess that boss and mini boss. So manager is a mini boss, right?
Sure.
Maybe.
But a manager is not an owner.
Right.
Manager can get fired.
Yeah, and so then that's not a boss.
Exactly. Yes, we agree. So if you your own boss, no one can fire you, Trent.
Well,
No, no one can fire you. So
from
I don't know
from
if you
yeah
pay
yeah
attention to
yeah,
I don't
but
know if you
we're
pay attention to Twitter bullshit, but
yeah.
I hate to like date this podcast, but you know James Gunn. Maybe by the time people hear this, he's already reinstated. But James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, was fired because of tweets that he made 10 years ago.
Mhm.
That's what happens when you're not a boss.
Mhm.
if any movie I make, it's up to me if I make it or not. No one can tell me I can't make it. I make it and I choose where it goes. I'm the boss.
Right.
There's freedom in that.
Yeah. I find yes, there's freedom.
And some people can't play the game on European extreme. Some people can't play the game on the highest difficulty. And that's where conflict comes from.
Oh, okay.
And that's why there's like level easy, because that's when you can get the McDonald's job. That's level easy. That's when you can work at Walmart. There's no shame in that. But you
Yeah.
got a boss. So if Amazon buys Walmart, guess what? You're gonna get fired, right? So you're gonna have to find another one. All the truck drivers that are driving trucks right now, in 10 years, there's not going to be any more truck drivers, or maybe 20 years, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's because they have a boss,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So but fortunately, America is founded on that. This country is founded on that. It supports that. We're on the largest bull market in history because of that,
Yeah.
because of the Mark Zuckerbergs and the those assholes out there. Uh, they're millennials. They're millennial bosses. You know what I mean? The real ones, not the ones that put it in their Instagram bio. The real ones
Mhm.
that live the 1099 life, that pay their taxes and are sole proprietors or independent contractors or whatever. Real bosses.
And while you were talking like that, I kind of got some, I guess, definition. The difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur succeeds from within, an entrepreneur succeeds from out, without, or oh, I'm saying the wrong word here. Um, outside of and okay, maybe I don't know what I don't know how to. I can look that up. What what is your definition of an entrepreneur?
Someone who creates their own business. Someone who runs their own business. Someone that doesn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
They work for themselves.
So someone who's successful working for someone else's business, we call that an entrepreneur. And what?
I think you're missing the point I'm trying to make here. Like,
Okay.
don't go down that hole. This is a defense mechanism right now. Instead, I would consider becoming your own boss, because then you're in charge, man. Don't leave your fate to somebody else.
Yeah, but
Don't woe was me yourself.
my where I make my money is from who buys my product. You know what I mean? As
Or service.
being your own boss. So if if my product is not selling and I'm spending more than I'm earning, then and additionally nobody wants me to come work for them because I haven't been playing the the brand name dropping game.
All this thing, everything that you're saying, what you're building up right now is here's what you're saying. The short version is, if I suck dick at what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not paying attention, go on.
Well, that too. If I was sucking the boss's dick, I
No, no, no.
might
I mean suck dick. I mean being doing a poor job.
doing a poor job.
Doing a poor job. If you're not selling more than your, whatever your margin is, that's on you. First of all.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
keep
I
that
would
in
have to
mind.
I
To your
would
hypothetical,
yeah.
why even allow that as a possibility? Why even entertain that thought?
Competition. It's pure competition because you're being me, you, everyone is being suffocated by the person who is more successful than you. So, um,
So this is where I disagree. It all
okay.
depends on what your end goals, your end values, your end means are. What if that's to make $40,000 a year? That's
Then
not that hard.
you're
That's not
right.
that hard.
As a
Hard, not
solo,
that hard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Don't
as
compare yourself to Ty Lopez. This goes back to, if you're competing with Ty Lopez, You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here you're going towards a direction. I don't know if this is the direction you're thinking of, but desire is what conflicts with with uh with this conversation, because my desires are only achieved if there's some sort of agreement. You know what I mean?
And what's that agreement with who about what?
I guess it could be an agreement with another company. It could be an agreement with a wife,
Example.
spouse, or something.
Example.
Signing a contract with Coca Cola for a brand deal, so that I sell 500,000 T-shirts. But what is the sacrifice that I make in order to accomplish that? And am I still going to be in the red, or am I going to be black or green
Uh huh. So
in the
you set
ultimate
yourself
goal?
up to succeed, right? If you're selling shirts, how much does it cost to make a shirt? How much are you selling it for?
Right, yeah.
Right? If you want to put
You're right.
the Common Chaos logo on it, hey
Hmm.
Brian, what's the deal where you win, where it's very minimum risk for you, where I can license your logo and you get $2 for every shirt that I sell, and can
Hmm.
you promote it? There's your ROI. There's his ROI,
Yeah.
right? So it's simple. It's economics, right? So that's what you have to be asking yourself.
Yeah, can you provide a service for someone that um that take for someone that cannot well, the problem is this is where it really burdens me as a
Dude, if you're
person.
if you're in the shirt selling
Yeah.
business, it's gonna be a rough life for sure. It's
Right,
gonna be a
yeah.
rough life because the margins on shirts are horseshit.
Well, not even that. If it's product A, it could be anything, right? The Any
But
product
let's be
that
realistic here. We're talking about you. We don't need to go hypothetical.
well, I'm not selling any product. That's like no particular product. So I'm
But
a nobody selling
but we all
salesman.
need to earn a living.
Right. Right, right,
That's a
right.
reality.
So the things that I'm providing are me propositioning individuals to facilitate a service. You know what I mean? So
What specifically are you talking about?
whether
Like
that's
like you're talking in such vague like
right, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going.
snake
So
oil terms. Like
that's
just speak fluently.
that's where I'm going. So if
Let me
someone
ask you, and I've asked you this before. I'm like, what can you do for me that I can't do for myself?
I don't know. I think you can do everything. That's what I'm saying. I believe that everybody can do everything with the proper education and showing them how to achieve that particular thing. Whether it's a podcast, video, posting on Instagram, whatever that lesson with an end goal
Okay, so
is.
if that was an elevator pitch, that's pretty bad, right? So what's your elevator pitch? It's like, what can you do for me that I can't do for myself?
What what can't right now? What do you want? What do you want to do?
I'll tell you what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I'm an X-Men. Let's say I'm
Okay.
Wolverine. I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
that cool, but let's say I'm Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I want to meet up with Cyclops. I want to meet up with Beast Boy. Wait, no, that's a different comic. I want to meet up with Nightcrawler. Did I already say that? I want to meet up with Storm, Professor X, Magneto. I want to meet all the X-Men, and all I want to do is be in a room with all these X-Men and see what happens. That's what I want.
So I could
What,
facilitate an event for you guys, get you a location, facilitate all the production equipment, um,
so
maybe bring
no
some
equipment, no
snacks and
equipment.
foods or something like
It's
that.
like talent scouting. Like, can
Right. Yeah.
you find five or 10 other Knives Monroe and coordinate a meeting, and we just see like if we can make an Avengers out of this or something, whatever it is, like, or if you just have friends, like,
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. Like, I want to see the other freaks out there.
Yeah.
That and it's so weird to me, like, and maybe I'm antisocial or something, but in a society that's so well connected, why is that so fucking hard?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why, and it's partially the reason why I'm always so skeptical of what to say. Is because when you're sent this blanketed invitation to go to something, like like a birthday party where you know four people are gonna be, and I just send you an e-card, and it doesn't feel it. There's no feeling. There's nothing to that, right? Maybe in the future there will be, like because we're all tapped into this weird hypnotic system where you just talk to people over brainwaves, but and then an e-card. What the fuck is that? How do you get on an email? What you know what I mean? Like back in the day, sending someone a letter is effectively the same thing I'm talking about. So you send a letter to someone today in the mail, and it feels uh, sentimental. So the reason why people are not just coming to an event ordinarily is because there's no sentiment to it. Call your best friend on the phone. You say, "Hey, James or Jack or Jill or whatever," and you say, "Hey, I've got a birthday party coming up. Do you mind coming to the party?" And then they show up to the party, but you have a one-on-one connection with them. Instead, what everybody's doing is saying, "Hey, Jack, I saw you are a videographer," a blanketed email, and where it's just an algorithm that finds that this person's a videographer and this person's a fucking uh, graphic designer, and sends them this generic email invitation, come by.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like I know that. To me, it's like there's so many variables. Like
Yeah,
people when it's a people game, it's unpredictable.
yeah,
There's conflict. Um, I, that's a service to me that I can't do on my by myself. Like I can't find the people. I can't find like where am I supposed to find a Trent Knox and a Brian Kern? Like where am I supposed to find them? Where are they? I care more about that because in my life I know that people are the assets. You know what I mean? Especially in my line of work,
mm-hmm.
that's more fascinating to me. What and there's so many shady impersonators out there. It's kind of hard to filter through that system. Like how many people are phony baloney?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And not to be a judgmental asshole, but they're out there. Um, but to find authentic people, talented, committed, hardworking, authentic people, you put in a bottle and sell it, people are gonna buy that shit.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I appreciate that. That's kind of a backhanded compliment. I felt like, um, I, I definitely feel like I come from, um, and you actually brought this up to me before that I carry myself like I have $1 million. That's the way I was raised, though. I never had $1 million. But I was told to always treat people with respect, always be kind, and that sometimes became a conflict because in more urban environments, everybody's constantly shit talking each other and downing each other to where it's become the way that they communicate. And if they see anything that's not like that, that's not doesn't have that toxicity, they immediately see it as the threat or threatening. You
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
sure.
Um, and
I've encountered that.
I think it's possibly um, it's it's just due to the the family environment in these urban areas are now we're getting into how people should raise their children, but they're being um, children feel abandonment, so they're constantly looking for someone to be their father figure or their mother figure, maternal or paternal figures, in exchange for their actual family, who is working their ass off to provide for them while they're just putting them in front of a television screen. I had that lifestyle. I'm not saying that I didn't have that lifestyle. That's why I'm into video games, is because that was an escape from the reality that I lived in. And this is a
Right.
very upsetting and depressing reality. But I was always told by my family when I did interact with them to be nice, be kind, don't treat other people inferior. um, when I grew up, as I grew up, there were certain segments of the society that did things without judgment that led to me having a bias towards that community. Um, and there are pains in my life that have made me experience racism from myself, the way that others look at me and the way that I look at others. I am a human being, you know. I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. That's not the way to put it. Um, I'm not insensitive. I don't
Yeah.
lack empathy. The word empathy has been being used as an attack mechanism, saying that I'm more valuable than someone else because you lack empathy. You have autism, and that's only for those specific people to escape the reality of when they are. I get very heated about this.
You know, um, I think your neurons are conditioned to see things in a defensive way.
Yeah, I definitely believe
It's
that
not
too.
your fault. Not your fault. If you had to reshuffle the deck and start over again, I don't think you would have booked it this way, right? It's not
Hmm.
your fault, but you owe it to your consciousness and you owe it to escape the matrix and you owe it to recalibrate your neurons and to turn them onto the offensive,
No,
you know, in a positive way. Like I had to do that myself, you know. And like I said, I don't want to compare my vision and my goals and my blah blah blah, my purpose to yours.
I agree.
Um, Dakota says the greater your purpose, the greater your conflict, right? And we all have different, um, you know, frequencies of that.
Right.
Some higher, some lower, and it's all relative. But dude, I had such a broken psychology that I went to people that spoke my language to help me get Humpty Dumpty back together again, so I can
Mm-hmm.
pick up my pieces, my shards, and get through it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
through cope through it, man. And if I didn't have that, I didn't have a bigger brother. I didn't have a father. I didn't have anybody biologically to be there in that capacity. But I found them in heroes and father figures, and they
Mm-hmm.
really helped me. They really shifted the lens of my life to look at life in a way that can benefit me in a positive way. I feel the way you talk about empathy being weaponized, I feel that's the way positivity, the word, has been weaponized as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a drug, it's like a dopamine hit of like, be positive. It's like saying, be in denial about it. And that's not the way I mean it, or that's not the way I hear it, but I do see people try to shrug that off. How you feel about like Instagram culture of people have like it all figured out or whatever. The only thing that still hurts me, I'm a 30-year-old man, is when I see people that come off like they don't need friends, they don't need help, they got it all in terms of their people.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no one else they're gonna let into that club. When I see that, it hurts me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very sensitive. Like I feel like I have something to offer everybody, even if I don't want to. uh, that's something to me. Like I still don't have. I'm Wolverine walking around. I'm worthless alone. I
Mm-hmm.
still don't have my people, my X-Men to to really make interesting things happen. And
Yeah.
when I get jealous when I look on the internet as a whole, and I see, wow, people got these little clubs. They got the, you know, even the alt right got each other. I'm like, fuck, I don't even have three people that I can hang out with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that I'm like, I'm being sold that. But I've wanted that ever since I was a kid, when I wanted friends on the playground and all that. So I guess I'll always want that, and I need to let that go. But I relate to you in that way, and I think in the reason why I'm kind of like I give you tough love in a way is
Mm-hmm.
because I've been in your shoes, not exactly, but I've been. I think we're two hurt people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I've
Yeah.
felt feelings that are similar to that, close enough, anyways. And I also know that life is fucking great sometimes. Life is fucking sweet sometimes. Um,
True.
and and that's worth focusing on more. It
Mm-hmm.
is. But it's like anything. This goes back to the discipline thing. Like if you don't exercise your focus, then life happens to you instead of for you.
Mm-hmm. I
I do gotta wrap it up in a bit, but let's take it home.
Oh yeah, sure. I forgot to make this podcast go live, but I did record it.
It's
So
all good.
yeah, and it's bits and pieces like this where I just I feel that's failure. Failure
What do you
hits
mean?
you when you don't accomplish what
Let me tell you
you're
what
trying to
failure is.
accomplish.
Failure is you never messaged me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's failure.
No, what do you mean? I never messaged you.
If you never
Oh,
messaged me to be on your
if
podcast,
yeah,
that's failure.
yeah, yeah,
But you did.
yeah. I feel like that's something I'm very good at. I think that's really something I'm good at. Is is when I have a desire, I do what I and if I think it's accomplishable, even when I don't think it's accomplishable, I'll do my best to try and make it happen. Um, I've sent emails to some of the biggest people in Austin to try and get them to participate in whatever my crazy world is, you know. And I haven't received back, you know, a lot of positive um, recognition, but it's one step down the line. Um, it's interesting. You have a relationship with someone that a business relationship with Dakota Meyer um, that happened. It is the online relationship,
Uh huh.
that
Yeah.
people are looking for these days. You are that is a shining example of it happening very well, right? And I
It is. Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and even Tanner, uh, it's IRL or in real life experience. But he decided to move to Austin, and just so happened that he was in uh, an internet built company on it and met Lance Armstrong, and that became
Yep.
his next step into building his business. I've been around people, and I haven't found that connection. You know what I mean? That mentorship connection,
Uh huh. Uh huh.
that next level. I'd say that you are a mentor. I mean, our ages are very close. You and our Tanner and your ages are very close. Uh, I don't have that mentorship where the person's two times my age. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Neither
Oh,
do I. Um,
with the yeah.
yeah, I'm so lucky. Like me and Dakota are friends. Like I know he knows everything about my personal life, and I know everything about his. Like, it's crazy. Our kids um, could be closer, but they're close, and I think they're going to grow up together. And it's an incredible feeling because he's an incredible, one of a kind person, and there is a business relationship side to it as well.
Well, you're
But
building a business
you
together.
know, the day I met him, I never had any expectations. Like
Okay.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Like you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. Like when I met him, after my handshake with him in the beginning, like it. everything else was like, we'll see what happens. Like I didn't have an expectation,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't desire anything, even though I was being tested, I was being judged. There was an opportunity hanging above me. Uh, After 15 years of this is it, no, it's not. This is it, no, it's not. Failure, 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 failure.
Mm-hmm.
After 15 years of questioning myself, like being 30 years old, like should I still be doing this? When I put my guard down, I meet this guy, right? So not to be romantic about it, but you can't orchestrate that. And one thing that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about all the time is patience. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I think turns people off about him is ultimately at the end of the day, he's saying, yeah, you might not get it until you're 30. And guess what? You're going to get it when you're 30 and still be young as fuck. Some people don't want to swallow that, man, but you're also 24 years old.
Yeah.
Calm the fuck down. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I know you're not that I know you're not I don't want to make this about being hasty or whatever, but you have your whole life ahead of you. Um, you know,
I don't know what your life situation's ever been, but I had a very interesting life situation where the female characters in my life, when I was emotional or crying, they'd punch me in the face. Uh, and it goes it goes down to what Gary Vee says. Like, there's a lot of kids out there who've not been punched in the mouth. They haven't had
yeah,
that pain. Well, my
yeah,
pain's the worst pain that you could possibly have in the society, as they say women are are inferior to men. They try to push that propaganda. Man, I grew up around strong women that punch you in the mouth if you're crying. You know,
yeah, yeah,
stop acting like a little bitch. Punch you right in the mouth. Um,
yeah, yeah.
because I don't know why, but they are hard workers. You know, I don't know who these people are that don't have these type of women around them that are like that, and that
Don't bra-
becomes, you
you
know,
don't have to brag, bro.
what do you mean?
It was kind of a joke, but you're like, I don't know who these people are that don't have these types of women around them, and I was like, don't brag.
Well, no, I mean I believe that you do have those type of women around you, and that's why you are successful.
My whole
Um,
life is about trying to make the women in my life proud of me,
hmm.
whether if it's my mom, Claire, or Fiona, my daughter, like, or my
Yeah,
sister. Like, I'm trying to make them proud of me, and everything I try to do is like, am I enough?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the only validation I really need is just because they're responsible for my dreams. They're my dreams.
Do you
They
think
set up
if
the lights for my dreams. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
if the shot ain't good enough for them, then what the fuck am I? What are we doing this for? You know?
fuck. I think that's the way. That's the best way to end it, right then and there, man. You know.
Trent Knox, thanks very much for asking me to do this, man. Just so you know, peek behind the curtain. I'm at an HEB parking lot, and
Okay.
I wanted to give you this time, man. If I try to do this at my house, it would just be loud, and I wouldn't be able to get this done, man. So thanks for asking me, and just so you know, feel free to call me anytime, man. If you ever want to grab lunch, like you never have to worry about it. It's on me.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Take care, man.
Speak to you again later.
You good, Trent?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm proud of you, man.
Appreciate it. Well, that was an interesting interview with Knives Monroe. We went deep. We went deep. We we talked about a lot of good subjects, and I hope that I hope this brings insight to myself and the people that have listened to this interview. Um, I hope that I can go back to it and learn a bit more about myself and where I'm going. Um, kind of brings up a lot of pain and and shows a lot of weakness in the person that I am. Um, and I don't ever want to feel weak. There's there's no there's no acceptable way to be weak. Um, because you can be taken advantage of, and strength is the only way to overcome that. But in strength, you experience pain, and in weakness, you extreme pain, and that extreme pain is what can lead someone to think about committing suicide or putting themselves in a position where they can be murdered. Um, and my goal is to help people avoid those circumstances, um, whether that's through a face to face reality check or an online podcast that someone can interpret the data and see that there are people out there that can help, uh, that may be in the same position you are, and they want to help you. Maybe this podcast was not that. Uh, there were times in which we disagreed. There was times we were on different wavelengths of conversation. Uh, I tend to use words uh, in a direct and indirect manner, and finding out that we've been putting together sentences that cause other people pain, and that we need to use our our brains to build build a sentence prior to uh, to voicing our opinions or our perspectives. Um, and I believe that the mechanism of podcasts, as you're hearing your voice in your headphone from time to time, some people do not, provides you with that type of insight. And I'm not trying to blabber on and on with these podcasts. I want there to be some uh, incentive and value into listening to these podcasts, and talk about the hard truths. Um, we did not go, and I don't want it to be scripted at all times. I want it to be freeform. You know, we covered a lot of the topics I've been contemplating, but I will definitely get back to y'all with another episode very soon. I am very disappointed this did not go live, because now you will not be able, those people who listen to it live will not be able to listen to it live. They'll have to listen to it AOD. But I appreciate y'all for listening in, and I'll catch you on the next episode.